10th council meeting. Members of the public were provided with the following methods to watch and or participate in the meeting. Attend in person at the North Dumfries Community Complex. Attend electronically via Zoom to observe the meeting or to speak to an item on the agenda. Watch the live stream by accessing the meeting on the Township YouTube page. You can also submit written comments to the clerk's division that were provided to council members and will form part of the public record. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank everyone for joining us this evening. We appreciate your participation. As we come together to serve the community, I ask that we create a welcoming and positive environment for everyone that includes respect, that we listen to each other with care, speak thoughtfully, and engage kindly with one another. Kindness, that we treat everyone, council, staff, and the public with respect and understanding. Inclusion, that we embrace diverse perspectives and respect each other's opinions. Together, we can make this meeting space one where respect, kindness, and inclusion are at the heart of everything we do. Behavior that is disrespectful, disruptive, aggressive, or intimidating will result in those individuals being asked to leave. I'd now like to call the meeting to order and can I have approval of the agenda, please, Councilor Osler.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Tilley, that council adopt the March 10th, 2025 council agenda as presented with the following addendums. One, add memorandum from staff for item 1124, report number PD 15-2025, draft plan of condominium proposed zoning bylaw amendment block 66, PL 455, Mitchell Street, file number 30 CDM 23301 and ZC 0223, requesting deferral of the report and associated bylaw. Add 3 pieces of correspondence received for item 16.1, notion of motion from Councillor Wells regarding the technical study on the potential cultural heritage landscape designation, and add additional background information submitted by Councillor Wells related to item 16.1, notion of motion.
All those in favor? Good, thank you. I'd now like to do the Indigenous Territory Acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land on which we gather today as the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Mutual people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land, their contributions and achievements and contributions to our community. We offer this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples of Canada. But as I've stated before, these are only words. We have to live them, we have to act them. We have to treat everyone with respect. And as I said before, we learned a lot of respect from the Indigenous. When our ancestors first came to this country, they were welcome to. They were welcome to wholeheartedly. And we destroyed that respect. So let us remember to be who we were in a respectful nation. That's cause to reflect. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of community interest or general interest? Seeing none. Adoption of the minutes, please. Councillor Tilley.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Osner, that council approve the following meeting minutes. 6.1, council meeting minutes dated February 10th, 2025, as amended. 6.2, special budget council meeting minutes dated February 19th, 2025. 6.3, council meeting date minutes dated February 24th, 2025. 6.4, public planning council meeting minutes dated February 25th, 2025.
All those in favor? May I? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to make sure that the correction has been made on the February 10th meeting minutes on, is it also online?
That's what it says, Amanda.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure because that was really important that we get that straight. So that's what I voted for. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to lift anything from the consent agenda? I want to lift consent agenda items. Mr. Tilley.
More of a comment, if you don't mind, in the communications, reading through the different versions of the response to proposed tariffs, I just saw that one and I just want to see everybody's opinion. I thought that was well written, the Woolwich one. It was one of the best ones I saw. And if there's any, if we were gonna go anywhere somewhere similar to that, I like that as a kind of a statement. That seems good.
CEO McNeely, we thinking of doing our own, and do you want to mimic Woolwich's? Excuse me.
Madam Mayor, the respective municipalities are still working on their response, and it's somewhat tailored based on the fluid nature of the tariffs. Some of them actually passed resolution before we came together as a group of municipalities. So council may wish to wait until the next meeting to actually find out what tariffs are actually being proposed, and then what kind of consolidated response would be appropriate.
Thank you, CEO McNeely. So, can I have a motion, please, Councilor Williams? And you can just say correspondence instead of each and every one on.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Roman, that the following reports as listed on the March 10, 2025 consent agenda be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved and acted upon. 10.1.1 report number FD-03-2025 Fire Department Incident Response Summary for February 2025. And that the following information items as listed in the March 10, 2025 consent agenda be received. 10.2.1 A through A through K.
And then the last one is
And 10.2.1, the regional water meeting minutes dated January 29, 2025.
all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next is report 11.2.1, concession services lease extension. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Councilor Rowland, please.
Moved by myself, by Councilor Williams, that report number REC 11-2025 be received for information. And that council approved the extension of the lease agreement for the concession services at North Dumfries Community Complex for the 2025-2026 and 2026-2027 arena season through 139-27091 Canada Inc., operating as NG Food Concessions, subject to any minor revisions as may be required by the township solicitor and or the chief administrative officer, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the agreement 139-27091 Canada Inc., operating as NG Food Concessions for the extension of concession service at North Dumfries Community Complex for 2025-26 and 2026-27 arena season.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next, we have the fireworks survey. Are there any questions or comments? Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, can I have the motion, please, Councilor Osner?
Eleven two two.
11.2.2.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Tilley, that report number BLE 04-2024 be received for information, and that staff continue to work with the regional working group regarding the evaluation of potential amendments or revisions to the township's fireworks bylaw.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next is report number PD 16-2025. Recommendation to approve the alteration of a designated heritage property at 1807 Cheese Factory Road, zoning bylaw amendment. Any member of the public wish to speak on this? Any member of council have any questions or comments? Council Rose.
I have a question with regards to the proposed figure 3 drawing that's on page 185 of our agenda. So the first drawing on that page shows the basement window and it shows the house as currently is, and then the proposed one shows the window where it's being moved to. And it wasn't clear to me from that drawing what was happening to the basement door there.
Michael?
Through you, Madam
Hi.
Mayor.
I can speak to this if helpful.
I thank you, Dimitri, but our planner will answer, okay? And if you have any comments after that, go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and Dimitri, if you'd like to add to it afterwards, but these renderings were prepared as part of the previous expansion proposal for the property. And so some of these changes that were being considered as part of that expansion aren't being considered as part of this report. So this figure here was really to show the new location of the proposed window. And that other door, I don't know what that what the owner has decided with that. That may change as part of a new proposal that may come for an expansion of the property. So I would let Dimitri speak to that item, but this figure was inserted into the report to identify the change in location of the window.
Dimitri, do you know what's happening to the door?
Yes, correct. And this came up as a discussion item during the Heritage Committee meeting. The door would not affect the door at all. The window is quite a bit higher than the level of the door. And the door will stay completely as it is right now.
Thank you, Dimitri. Any other questions? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please, Councilor Tilly?
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Ossner, the report number PD 16-2025 be received for information. And that council approved the alteration of the existing heritage building located at 1807 Cheese Factory Road as follows. 1, to permit the relocation of existing window facing sunroom eastern wall to the southern wall of the building. The window location must be consistent with the festernation pattern, reusing the existing quaints, 6/6 window frame and interior trim. 2, to permit an interior alternation to construct a wood burning fireplace on the southern wall utilizing an existing flue and chimney stack to ensure no exterior alterations are required.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next, we have report number PD 15-2025 draft plan of condominium and proposed zoning bylaw amendment, block 66, PL 455 Mitchell Street, file number 30 CDM 23301 and ZC 0223. As per the addendum, staff would recommend a deferral on this. Would anybody like to speak on it?
Well, I have questions on it.
Go ahead, please. Come up to the please and give your name, sir.
I don't know who I'm speaking to here,
All of
or
us,
where to
right.
get the answers, but I got the letter in the mail saying this meeting has happened, so I'm very expecting more people to come, but I printed off the paperwork that you guys have shown out here. Now, what exactly, you guys are voting on the amendment today to put forth for these buildings to go in, is what's going on?
Actually, this is a suggestion is for deferral, but we want your questions, so we need them to go.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm a little bit saddened that this stuff didn't come out till the 6th, that there's like 300 pages to read through, so I haven't gotten through it all. I just get to it, but a few things I have, the drainage in here somewhere, I was skimming through it all, said that the drainage concerns have been addressed. And that the forestry manage has been taken care of. Now, when I was here when was the last meeting, about a year and a half ago on this property?
It all blends here.
Yeah, I know,
Michael, when was the
I
last meeting?
understand that you guys,
It was in August of 2023.
there was this room packed with people with concerns on the property. My property at 204 Mitchell backs onto this lot here. My main concerns are, well, first of all, the abutment, the property, it says the drain concerns have been addressed, but the proposed buildings, 4 of them, the 4th one itself butts almost directly up to my property. And which is on a slope down towards my house, that's already been flooded, the basement's been flooded twice. Now, the size of these buildings are another thing, like at that meeting, you guys said that you guys would approve buildings that would fit within the communities. Like the existing community. these things are massive, like they're 4,000 square feet, the one that butts up to my property, and there's no abutment to it, right? And what, like,
So let's take your question.
yeah.
One at a
what-
time. Michael, can you tell us about the drainage, please?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. The drainage was, the engineering submissions were reviewed by our engineering consultant, RJ Burnside. They provided comments that, on the original submission that went back to the applicant, those comments were addressed by the applicant and resubmitted to RJ Burnside.
Yeah.
What provided that they are satisfied with the proposed, the grading, the drainage, and, yeah, and maybe Andrew would like to speak to it.
CO McNeely?
So I can clarify exactly where your home is in relationship to the property. Are you situated to the west of the proposed internal access drive? So if I'm facing,
I'm at 204 Mitchell, if you look at the plot, I don't know if you can bring it up, the building number 4 that they proposed, the largest one, is right in my back. I have a pool in the back there that the water is
Yep.
gonna pool into.
Yep.
I have many concerns over the height of this, like, in this meeting, it says express concern regarding privacy of adjacent properties that share property lines with the subject line in response, staff would work with the property owner to establish appropriate side and rear yard setbacks. Insert blah, 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 and then it said that the privacy matters have been considered with the existing tree line. But in these proposals, that building would be exactly where mature evergreen trees sit right now. So to build these buildings as they sit in your plan, they're gonna cut down, I don't know how tall the trees are, 100 feet. Just to build the building that will sit where these mature trees lay. And as we know, like you guys are the experts here, but trees absorb the rain off, the water runoff. You're gonna cut down trees and put a 4,000 square foot unit within, I don't know how many, it doesn't exactly say how many feet, but it looks to me like 3-4 feet from my property line. And that property line itself, which is another thing, it looks at one place, it says 208 and 206 Mitchell have a 2 meter. They're given a 2 meter landscaping buffer for their properties, which is the entrance way. My house at 204 isn't given a 2 meter landscaping buffer as they are. And why would that be? And the house is basically going to be right backing onto my lot. And I know that you guys said that you're gonna look at this last meeting, you guys all, yeah, we looked into it, but then the lots come out, it looks like you guys are getting ready to go forward with this without.
Actually, so the recommendation tonight is to defer this and let staff go back because there's new comments coming in from them.
Yeah, well, there should be, like,
Yeah.
what you've got here doesn't make sense to me.
CO McNeely, go ahead.
so Madam Mayor, as identified, there were a series of issues going back to the August 2023 public meeting. Size, massing, height of the residences, and its relationship to adjacent properties. Both that framed on Mitchell, but also those that frame on Swan and back onto the site. The other was overland drainage. And there have been chronic issues over the years because portions of this property actually sit higher than those lots that frame Mitchell. And drainage is during heavy rainfall. Today is going uncontrolled off the property into those adjacent properties, most of which have rear yards that are below the height of the development. And the other was protection of the mature trees that are on the adjacent property, but in close proximity to the common lot line, and the concern that future development, and that could be degrading, compaction, or the like, would interfere with the continued survival of those trees. If the development went ahead and didn't have the proper consideration for integrity of the roots, trees and the tree limbs themselves. So a series of things have been identified as it relates to the trees on the adjacent properties that are in close proximity to the development lot line. There was a arborist that was retained by the township to better understand how to protect those trees for the longer term. And there is to be a tree preservation plan, which will also not only identify those trees, but also putting up physical barriers so that there's not accidental damage done to one or more of those trees by heavy equipment.
Those are for the neighboring properties, not the property itself, that's in question, right?
I'm talking about on the adjacent properties, because some of them are right at literally the property line.
Yeah,
Majority of the tree is actually on the adjacent property, but there is overhang crossing over the common lot line. So it makes recommendations and it talks about not only root protection, so in other words, grading or compaction, but also protection of the tree trunk and the tree limbs. Now, one of the conditions to draft approval is to actually create that detailed engineering drawing that would signal each one of those trees and what measures would be undertaken specific to each one of those trees, and that forms a schedule to the future condominium agreement that's been registered against the title of the property, the developed property. Those trees do offer a measure of protection, but they're also on private property, and obviously we don't want development to interfere with the continued growth and maturing of those trees. The trees on the development itself will largely be removed. Some of them have been compromised already. And others will interfere with the placement of either grading to move water, stormwater, overland away from the common lot lines, and or to allow the internal condominium road to be built with its underground services. As it relates specifically to storm water, today, as I noted, the water, heavy rains, snow melts, just flows uncontrolled off of the property, and it goes in two different directions predominantly. One is actually moving toward the south-southwest. And the other, as we get closer to those properties that frame Mitchell Street, to the excuse me, toward the north and into the backyards, including. So the indication is through a combination of both planting and I'll call it edge management, but also reshaping the grade back toward the internal road. The intent is to try and direct that grading profile and that overland drainage directed toward the internal road, which will then have curb and gutter with the catch basins, and it'll be piped through that internal road system onto Mitchell Street. Now, not knowing exactly where the future home will be.
well, there's drawings, but they're not.
There's a conceptual where the homes would be, but until there's an actual building permit, no one can actually say this is exactly where the home is going to go. There's an envelope of where the house can go.
Yeah,
But where it actually goes in that envelope wouldn't be known until the future home comes forward with a building permit. So there's controls placed at what we call the lot level. So we've got an overall master grading. And then at the building permit stage, when it's really truthed out as to exactly where the driveway is going to go and where the house is going to go.
absolutely.
I'm talking about on the specific lot. Then there's what we call the plot plan. It has to conform to the overall master grading plan for the overall condominium proposal. And that's the truthing of the lot level when the actual home is being proposed, to make sure it's consistent with the overall grading and drainage plan that forms part of the overall development agreement. In terms of the massing of the homes, the setback has a 7.5 meter setback for the garage from the future internal driveway, which is consistent with what you would see on any of the homes on Mitchell Street. In terms of the rear yard, it's 7.5 meters, which is consistent with the zone classification assigned as a minimum as assigned to the Mitchell Street residences. In terms of height, we've actually limited the height of buildings to 10 meters. Which is lower than what's allowed as of right on the balance of the homes on Mitchell Street.
I understand, but 30 feet from the ground where this latest,
Yeah.
where it's graded right now, is already
It,
10-15 feet above the grade of my house.
yeah, there's
So
no,
we're looking at, not your, idea of 10 meters is looking well above my house's end of the neighborhood.
so the property is perched higher, and that's why there's runoff from this property.
I know it runs right between my houses, and it's gonna get worse if you put these houses back there, because there's nowhere for the water to go.
Well, actually, there will be a place for the water to go for the first time, and that's into that internal storm sewer system.
I would like to welcome you to come to my house and look at the picture of where this building is proposed, and it is impossible to get the water to run anywhere else.
Excuse me, sir. And maybe could we get your name for the record first, please?
Daryl Samley,
And,
204 SAMAY, it's 204 Mitchell is my property.
okay, and maybe you'd like to make an arrangement to meet with Michael sometime and go over all the things.
Yeah.
That would be great, so if the two of you could arrange that, because I think you have a list, and I think we need a written copy of that list.
Well, yeah, like, you guys need to, yeah, well, I don't know, if you guys are gonna vote on this,
Oh, no, we're deferring tonight. The
Yeah.
recommendation is to defer, which means it's not getting voted on.
Yeah, but you know what, it's concerning that you guys consider the issues with the neighboring properties are things. Weird, I get it, work with it. Amendment here, that's been rectified or taken care of, but that's not the case with any of the neighbors.
I think that's one of the reasons we're deferring it.
Yeah. I hope so, yeah.
Yes. So if you want to do that, because, and your written comments will be in the report, and we'll be able to follow up on those in the next meeting that we have on this.
So I should write a list of all this stuff.
Yeah, and talk to Michael about it, but still make your list and hand it into Michael, because he will have to answer every one of those at our next meeting.
And what is it that you guys are referring to, what, the next meeting?
24 March.
And what'll happen in that, like, why would you defer, what are you guys waiting on for the deferral? Like,
So people like yourself, your comments, so that we can answer them. And if they can't be answered, then we defer again until we get the answers. All right, so Michael, if you arrange to have a meeting with him, thank you very much, and thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Welcome, sir, your name, please?
My name is Brian McElravy, 201 Mitchell Street, across the street from here. I just have some quick questions just to get a better understanding.
Michael's on.
Yeah, so first question, Daryl just kind of covered it. Mitchell Street, Lower Mitchell is a very, very quiet street, custom houses, nice big trees behind Daryl's house. The planners actually come out and look before they make decisions on this.
They actually do, they do physical, plus they bring up other staffing and engineers and everything else. Go on, sir.
Okay, the plan keeps switching. Originally, it seemed like it was going to be one house, then it was two houses. Now it's four houses, and it's four giant houses. One of my concerns is like Daryl's. I live across the street and look at the trees. I have a concern. I'm looking at a 30-foot house. As Daryl said, he's on the bottom of the hill. These are on a hill, then house on top of the hill. To me, it might as well be a skyscraper if I have four giant houses looking down on top of me. So I do have concerns about the size of these houses.
Michael, can we have a conceptual drawing of what that would look like from the streetscape?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Through you,
please.
Madam Mayor, like for the next meeting?
That would be
Yeah,
excellent. Thank
absolutely, yeah. And I will just add that there are a hedgerow of trees that exist today along the property line with 208 Mitchell and that extend over to 206. Those are being maintained. So those, I believe it's about 39 trees that exist there that will provide some privacy.
not for this place, in my place, you're done with the two other properties.
Okay.
The
let-
big
let
property
the-
behind my lot.
Let the two of those, do. Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll provide a conceptual view so that you'll have a visualization from Mitchell Street of what that looks like.
And a conceptual view with the houses as we see them, so we can see the detail on them. Thank you. Go ahead. Go
Just
ahead.
further questions, why are they condos? On the word condo is kind of scary, but they just look like houses, why are they condos?
CEO McNeely?
So Madam Mayor, the reason why they're condominiums is because it's a private internal road that is not owned and maintained by the township. So those four owners would have to be a private road, and they're obligated under the condominium act to maintain those common elements, so I mean, the road, the underground services, and the maintenance of that driveway and the approach at.
Okay, thank you. Next question on that, I don't know if this is another concept thing, but I would like to see the true concept of what that driveway is. When you come down Mitchell and you turn, there's a space there. And I don't want it to look like a Tim Hortons drive through going in, so I'd like to see what that condo driveway is going to look like. That makes sense?
Sorry, are you looking like what might an entry feature look like?
Yeah.
Or the actual road profile?
Both. When you come up to those, to the driveway that goes up the hill around the back, it's a fairly long driveway, so. I don't know, it's just gonna be a paved road, is it gonna be concrete with nice walks and trees? Is it just gonna look like slab parking lot? So I have a concern on the aesthetics of that driveway on the street. It's a fairly nice street. So I'm concerned on the aesthetics of the driveway for the condo one.
That is it?
One last question.
Go ahead.
There's a gas line that runs around the back. That's been one of our concerns, just looking there forever, that haven't predicted something happens. Has there been any study or issue relative to the trees that might be around or anything relative to that gas line?
Concerned about the Enbridge pipeline.
And
This property and the development parcel is outside the Enbridge corridor, and Enbridge has no concerns.
Andrew, I have one question. So if it's in the condominium act, so they have to wash their own water, sewer type water in that and taking care of the roadway, what happens if they don't? What happens if it falls down?
Under the condominium act, there's a condominium board, and they're obligated under the condominium act to actually undertake analysis every 3 years on the condition of its infrastructure, and they're obligated to ensure that the reserves are subside to cover the future life cycle replacements attributed to what those common elements would be. So that would be, you know, the water main, the fire hydrant, sanitary sewer, sidewalk, the road itself, and common element landscaping, including the gate feature this gentleman just asked about. All of those aspects are governed under the common.
Thank you. Any other questions?
just one last question, because I don't think one of mine wasn't completely answered of the one house versus two, well, now it's 4 houses. Is there a tax benefit to the township for having 4? Or what's the decision to
And you've
allow
heard the
4?
places to grow, we're supposed to be putting more places in. CEO, really, go ahead.
So, Madam Mayor, when the Mitchell Street subdivision was originally created. Yes, 30 years ago. This was undefined in terms of what it would be. It was just a large block. And you know, looking at it, it's almost a remnant orphan piece. The zoning on it was for a single detached dwelling. So as of right today, the owner could put a home on that property with a driveway. I've never been aware of a home for 2 homes on the property. When this was filed with the application in the year 2023, it was for 4 lots on a private internal road. There's been a site reconfiguration of that internal road and the lots themselves in terms of the configuration. But what was proposed in 2023 in 4 units is what's being presented tonight. It hasn't changed.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, make sure that you, if you have any further comments you would like to make, Michael, he can arrange that. And thank you both for coming and speaking, because we need to know, and we need to know that you're being taken care of. Any other questions, councilors? Councilor Austin?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm looking forward to hear what, Mr. Sammy and Sammy and, Michael come up with, on the visual walk around of the level of the land on that actual property. Excuse me. So these 4 homes are single-family homes, or are they condo units with multiple units?
So Madam
So,
Mayor,
yeah,
the zoning is to allow 4 single detached dwelling units with accessory uses. So that would allow accessory buildings, pools, and whatever you would normally find, let's say on Mitchell Street itself. Now, because we're in the urban area, as of right, because of regulation that the province has put in place, any urban serviced area where single detached dwellings exist, a homeowner can pursue additional dwelling units up to a maximum of 3 units on a property. Now, the owner has not indicated a desire to do that, but as of right, they are allowed to do that, as are the existing homes on Mitchell. Council cannot control. That is
provincial.
province's response to create it. But what is being proposed is 4 single detached dwellings on 3 full lots. The variance to normal subdivision is that the internal road and the services below the road are privately owned by that condominium corporation.
So just to carry on with that then, so the way it's proposed, there are 4 single-family homes.
Correct.
We have no reason to believe that they may be double stacking 4 condo units or, you know.
It is not a townhouse development. It is 4 single detached dwellings and accessory uses. That's what the zoning today allows a single detached dwelling and accessory uses. All is we're doing is increasing that based on the size of the parcel. It's on 4 single detached. And we're recognizing that development is proposed on the private condominium road and will be serviced as a private condominium.
Okay, so then, excuse me, therefore, we're looking at 4 single-family homes, standard double-story homes. We're not looking at anything that's a monster home or exceeding our bylaws, etc.
So Madam Mayor, through the councilor Oster, the lots that are being proposed here are far larger than a typical urban lot in air, including those that exist on Mitchell Street in proximity. The setbacks that have been applied mirror what's allowed in the Z4 classification that's applicable to the Mitchell Street homes that exist in that immediate neighborhood. But the lots themselves are bigger, therefore the envelope where you can put a house is larger. The height is lower than what's allowed as of right in the adjacent Mitchell Street properties. As well, we lowered the overall height of any accessory buildings. So anywhere else on Mitchell Street, the maximum height is 5.2 meters for an ancillary or accessory building. We lowered it to 4.5 meters. So both the height of the principal dwelling as well as accessory buildings specific to these 4 lots are lower than what's allowed as of right on the adjacent properties.
Okay, so then just continuing with my line there. So we always talk about places to grow act and how we can utilize property and stuff like that. Do we have any recourse to say that we want more than 4 levels there? Or sorry, more than 4 properties there, but we want bungalows, let's say, and stuff. Like, I can't understand why, for example, on that property, not doing something like Joseph Lane, for example, where they're like 1.5 story, they're not quite as high, but there's lots of room to put more units there, but at least they won't be so high. It's kind of hard for me to see how we go through all these developments and all these subdivisions and everything are packing them in there because that's the way they're going to make the money. Yet now we're looking at one property in itself, and now we're allowing big lots, like, do we not have any kind of control as to how many lots per square meters, et cetera?
The other hearing.
So Madam Mayor, if you count roster. Unfortunately, a representative of the owner is not here tonight. But what I do believe is motivating the owner is this property has been bought, it's not owned by a developer. And they are looking at creating a home for themselves. And two separate lots where for children may in time build and live. And then the fourth lot sold to the marketplace. We do not look at whether or not those are actually ever going to be owned by the family members. So we just look at it as 4 lots. And what's appropriate in the context of the neighborhood, both massing, use, density, and light. Certainly to your point, the property itself could lend for a density much higher than what is being proposed. That's not what the owner has looked at, because she was looking at creating an environment where she wanted to live, and that for her children, and such, the overall density is much lower.
But in essence,
Councillor Austin, usually allow 2 to 3 questions.
I know, but when I'm asking questions and I get a
But now
thorough
just want to
answer,
get back
I need to
something
finish my
that Sarah
question.
Said about they can do an accessory building. If that ever happened, they would come back to council and we'd have to approve that. Okay, I didn't want you guys to panic and think, oh, they're gonna be putting more houses on. But it's not an automatic. Okay, yeah, see you, Councilor Austin.
Thank you, Madam. So, yeah, my point is not that they can put more tall houses. What my point is if they were to develop, like, I'm just using Joseph Lane example, 1.5 story, it's lower, it might not be so obtrusive, yet they could make, they could put more units in there, which wouldn't be a terrible thing, but at the same time, at least all the neighbors wouldn't see these towering homes. And no matter how you slice it, they're a developer. Like, I mean, you know, when you have a piece of property and you say, I'm building 4 homes for my kids or whatever. I mean, that's just a legal way of, we, like anybody can do whatever they want with the homes, as C.O. McGinnis said. Anyway, the rest, I'll say for the 24th, but those are just kind of my thoughts about the property itself. Maybe if Michael looks at the property, they can actually, as C.O. McNeely says, they're gonna grade the property. Maybe they can take that property down a little bit so that, you know, it's not so high and the water drains properly.
Problem is, I think that you interfere with the tree structures. We want to protect the tree. We'll have Michael and staff work on some answers for us. And thank you both, gentlemen. Sir, did you come in to talk about Mitchell Street at all?
I was working, I'm sorry, I missed half this, but I really won't be here, but I trust that you guys make great decisions.
Okay, so would you like to speak on the Mitchell Street application?
No.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, a motion please, Councillor Wilms.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Lehman, that report number PD 15-2025 be received. And that Township Council approve the conditions of draft approval plan of condominium included in the report as attachment 2 to facilitate the future development of a plan of condominium, file number 30CDM-23301, to facilitate the development of 4 single detached dwelling units on a private internal condominium road. And that Township Council approve the proposed zoning bylaw amendment to amend the zoning of the subject lands from zone Z4A to zone A4A. Specific exemption 20.1.338 to facilitate the creation of 4 single detached dwelling units along a private internal condominium road with associated minimum site specific regulations. And that Township Council is satisfied that the requirements for a public meeting in accordance with subsection 3417 of the Planning Act have been met. And that bylaw number 3548-25 being bylaw to amend general zoning bylaw number 689-83 with site-specific zoning provisions to implement the proposed uses of the plan of condominium file number 30CDM-23301 be enacted.
And staff have a note here that as staff are recommending deferral of this report. All those in favor of deferral? Deferring it. So, thank you. Councilor Warren.
Mayor, just a question, clarification on this. If we defer, are we risking the points of OLT because we're delaying this application?
CEO McNally.
Madam Mayor, through Councilor Roman, it was the applicant who actually asked for it first.
Thank you. Okay, so that is deferred. Is there a sign-in sheet in that for people to sign it? I don't think there is. Can you make sure that you talk to Michael, gentlemen? And sir, if you're involved with Mitchell Street as well, if you'd like to go and talk to Michael as well.
Thank you.
Just to get caught up. Thank you. Next is the larvicide. Does anybody want questions about the larvicide? Go ahead, Councilor Rice.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was just more a comment on, the letter, the sample letter that was included on page 405. It mentions all preventive larviciding performing in 2024 rather than 2025. So if that could be updated.
Yes, we should make note of that. And would you get a hold of people sending a letter telling them, please, to put the president, we'll do that. And the motion, Councilor Roman, please.
Moved by myself, by Councilor Wilms, that the correspondence received from the Regional Waterloo Public Health and Paramedic Services requesting a letter of permission from the township authorizing access to municipal lands for the purposes of mosquito larval surveillance be received, and that council authorized staff to issue the enclosed letter of permission to the Regional Waterloo Public Health and Paramedic Services on behalf of the township, authoring access to township lands for the purpose of mosquito larval surveillance and indicated larval control measures.
All those in favor? Carrie, thank you. And next up is Councilor Tilly, request for a more visual signage to the fire protection system. Would you like to speak on that, please?
Thank you. I will just ask, as the motion here does refer to the orally conveyed information from the CAO at the last meeting. Could you refresh that conversation, please, CAO, through Mayor Foxman? Just because I believe the conversation, and I don't want to feed in there, but my memory of it involves some signage. So just love to hear what that is again.
CEO McNally.
So, Madam Mayor, there has been some email communications going back 3 weeks ago or so to myself and Councilor Tilly when this was first raised by the area resident in Branston concerning some of the existing fire reservoir systems. I think the original concern was because of all the deep snow, the tanks may not have been obvious either to residents and or to responding fire personnel as to where those reservoirs are. So for each of the reservoirs, including the one that's been raised, there are existing signs at either end of the reservoir systems that have the no parking with the label fire reservoirs. Okay. I think what was discussed was within that block, where is the actual hatch? Because this one doesn't have a dry hydrant or a raised port to actually draft from the tank. This is one of the oldest reservoirs in our network. And actually, you actually have to lift the hatch and draft directly from the tank. So what we indicated to Councilor Tilly by email is so much what you see in urban air here where we actually have a pressurized hydrant. In the winter season, we put, I call them 4-foot high reflective flags, but basically it's a reflective standard that's about 4 feet in length. And we tie it off to one of the ports on the fire hydrant. So where we actually have storks or 65 millimeter ports on a hydrant, dry hydrant, we would actually put that flag on that dry hydrant. In this instance, where we only have actually the hatch, we would actually have to fit a bracket. And we would put this 4-foot reflective marker in that bracket specific to this locale. And that would complement the no parking signage that says fire reservoir. But it would also identify exactly where the feature is. So within the context of the block.
Thank you, Sion. So, Councillor Tully, do you want the motion, please? Oh, sorry, Councillor Norman.
Madam Mayor, just through you to the CEO, I have a question regarding these fire reservoirs. I own property as well that's on fire reservoir. Question I have is, if for some reason the reservoir is blocked or you can't access it, what's the backup plan for providing water to a potential fire site?
Sion,
So just so I better understand, is it blocked because cars are illegally parked there? Or is it blocked for some reason the snow is too deep or whatever? So the township does go through and monitor drifts, piling of snow, proximity to them. I mean, this site that we're speaking of today in Branston, Public Works has identified to me that they've been out there 3 times this year to make sure that the hatch is accessible. Similar to what we do throughout the village, we have pressurized hydrants. If they're not cleaned out by the neighbor, then we will go in with our loader after the storm event is over and free out access to it. The reality is, if I look at our industrial parks as an example, we have multiple locations spread throughout the industrial subdivision. And if one tank, for whatever reason, is impaired in some form or fashion, all of our fire reservoir systems are all what we call our mobile terminals. So we have all of our frontline apparatus. All the information comes up related to that site, the path of travel to get to it. If there's road closures, it's identified, or in this case, where our static water sources are. All that information being made available to our responding personnel before they arrive on the scene.
Councillor Norman, is your system okay? Is it available and but was it covered and not available
I
before?
wasn't sure.
Okay, so would he contact Chief Shots to make sure that it's not?
It's Public Works that maintains the systems.
Just let Public Works know our CO and everything we can do with it. Thank you, Councillor Norman, go ahead.
The reason why I asked the question, Madam Mayor, is because I did see on the Branston Facebook page that we're all watching, there was some concern, some alarm with the residents there that, oh, we can't get access to the water. If there's a fire, it's gonna burn down. So I just want to reassure the residents that, you know, if for some reason your reservoir is blocked, the township is either aware of it or we have a tanker available or some sort of system in place. So you don't have to be alarmed about your reservoir. I mean, is it the same sort of scenario as me digging up my fire hydrant in front of my house? That was buried, you know. Is it that the same sort of thing, or is it something we have to reassure residents, you know, if the system is blocked? I saw people panicking and getting snow blowers and shovels and running down to the reservoir to dig it out. Is that really the proper response, or is it, you know, folks, we've got a backup plan, and for some reason the system doesn't work, we can actually take care of a fire emergency?
CO McNeely.
So, Madam Mayor, there's actually 2 things there. During the storm, if for some reason the windrow piles up in that location, the reality is, at a minimum, we're showing up with over 5,000 gallons of water. Minimum. This reservoir is one of our oldest, but it's also one of our smallest. It only holds 5,000 gallons of water. So we're actually bringing water with us. We use this to refill our tankers if there is a larger incident or we're protecting exposures and we need additional water beyond what we bring. As I indicated, there are other reservoirs in the Branston area, or if I'm looking at the 97401 Business Park, there are other hydrants or reservoirs that are available to us. Whether it's because volume of water is needed or there's a potential impairment or delay in accessing one or the other.
Thank you, CO McNeely. Councillor Tilly, the motion, please.
Moved by myself, second by Council Ossner, that the correspondence received from Gerald Austin be received for information and that information conveyed orally by the CAO at the March 10th, 2025 council meeting with respect to the rural fire reservoir network, including the facility located at Branson in the proximity of the intersection of Victoria and Queen Streets be provided to Mr. Austin as an update, and that the clerk provide a written follow-up to Mr. Austin.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. So as you can see, the parking along Hilltop and yeah, so the first one is just that we receive it again as information. The other one is that we ask staff to commence a discussion with the Waterloo District School Board and the principal at Cedar Creek Public School and the residents at Frame Hilltop and Hunt Street and Scott Street to assess options with respect to on-street parking, no stopping restrictions along the border. Thoughts, communications, I know Councilor Roman, we've said in several meetings on Hilltop in regards to parking, and the first meeting we went to, they wanted speed humps and they wanted one side of the road parking, the next one, the next meeting was nobody wanted any speed humps and nobody wanted any parking on one side of the road, they wanted both sides. So we basically, that's what it is. Do we want to open this can of worms again? If so, what would you like? Councilor Roman.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So, I did have a meeting, as you know, with the school board. The principal of the school has contacted me and would like me to meet with her and the transportation person from the region after March break to discuss the traffic survey that they're taking right now at the school. So, I'll have more information about that after March break. So if we can hold off on this until I have more information, that might be useful.
See, only thing we're going to make a comment. Okay. Councilor Austin, any comments? Oh, okay, then can I have a motion, please, Councilor Austin?
Doesn't matter if you don't read. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Roman, that correspondence received from Wayne Donnell regarding parking concerns on Hilltop Drive be received for information.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you.
I thought we were deferring, sorry.
Well, we can receive this information, we can still meet and decide. So it's actually, both things are happening. Okay, so next is the motion to close council rooms, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Tilly. The council move into a closed meeting session at 6:57 PM pursuant to the Municipal Act Section 239(2) to discuss PW Report Number 02-2025, Automated Speed Enforcement Program, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or legal relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which if disclosed could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization, Municipal Act Section 239(2)(I), and a meeting of a council or local board or committee of either of them may be closed to the public if the following conditions are both satisfied. 1, the meeting is held for the purpose of educating or training the members. 2, at the meeting, no member discusses or otherwise deals with any matter in a way that materially advances the business or decision-making of the council, local board, or committee, Municipal Act Section 239(3)(1). And CAO Report Number 06-2025, update appointments to the steering committee for the NDCC Twin Pad fundraising, sponsorship, community assessment review study, personal matters about identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, Municipal Act Section 239(2)(B).
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Council Rowe, motion to, reconvene to open, please.
Moved by myself, second by Council Wilms, that council reconvene into open session at 8:35 p.m.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. So I just did a roll call. No. So coming out of close, council received a report for information and education and training purposes. No decisions were held that materially advanced the business or decision making of the township. A report on automatic speed enforcement will be brought forward to staff in open session by staff in open session at a future council meeting. And council runs the next motion, please.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Osner, that in open session at the March 24, 2025 council meeting, council entertain and appointed bylaw to appoint members of the public and council to the steering committee for the community assessment review study, NDCC Twin Pad fundraising and sponsorship program. And that staff be directed to prepare a draft appointment bylaw for council's consideration at the March 24th council meeting.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. And I believe for our bylaw 17.1, we are pulling because it was referred, Council Williams did this one. Notice a motion. Oh, you notice a motion, please, Council Williams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I put forward a notice of motion. The notice is, sorry, the motion is itself to put forward for council's consideration, a technical study on a potential cultural heritage landscape. So maybe I should first explain just the cultural heritage landscape itself. It's just a geographical area where there is both natural and built heritage that we would like to preserve in some way or manner. A technical study typically occurs after various features and an area of interest has been identified. And it basically goes and looks into public interest. So there's lots of public meetings. There's deep dive studies into the candidates for it. And out of that could potentially come a basis or a framework for a conservation plan if council so decides to create a cultural heritage landscape in this area. So this is a relatively big area, and I did provide a couple maps, one that kind of shows all of North Dumfries, and then one that zoomed into the location and shows points at some of the cultural and built heritage places. So of interest in that area are things from a natural perspective like Bannister Lake, Wrigley Lake, Elks Road, Sun Forest, Dean's Lake, off Beaky Road. So there's a bunch of things, areas there of natural heritage resources, and these are also places of where a lot of rare species of animals and birds and endangered species are also found. Also within that area is a lot of built heritage. So I have listed in my addendum some of the designated ones, but also some of the listed properties that we're currently reviewing as well. A lot of this was motivated by as I started really reading a lot of the cheetahs that have come in and just understanding just some of the history in this area and feeling that, if there's a way that we could preserve this area and keep it for our future children and stuff like that would be amazing. So that's basically just a brief overview of my motion. Hopefully I have more data and things for us to discuss on March 24th. One of the things I would like to also ask if possible, so there's been letters of support that have already come in, but there's also people who wish to delegate on March 24th. And so that's something that I was wondering if that would still be possible for council.
Thank you, and actually, that's next, but Council Williams has included a notice of motion. Council Williams will now be given the opportunity to introduce the notice, which she did. No council discussion is permitted at this time. Nor are delegates permitted to speak to a notice of motion as outlined in the procedural bylaw. The item will appear on the March 24th agenda for council's discussion. Councilwoman's introduced the motion. CO McNeely, will others be allowed to speak to the motion? I don't believe they're allowed to immediately.
So Madam, with notice of motion, the actual motion tonight is just put in front of members of council so that you're aware of the context. And obviously the nature of the resolution itself gives you a couple of weeks to think about it. And then on the 24th, it's an agenda item. At that point in time, council would be involved in a discussion related to the merits of the motion itself, and has the ability to either accept the motion as presented, modify it, defer it. If you were to defer, provide context as to why you are doing the deferral and information, additional information you're seeking, as well as to defeat the motion. Those are the options available to council on the 24th. Under the procedural bylaw, there is no staff report. Council can ask staff questions on the evening of the 24th, but there will actually be no staff report on the motion itself. Council will have that discussion. Council can receive correspondence, emails that are submitted to us in advance through the clerk's office that are circulated to members of council in advance of the meeting. Procedural bylaw actually says that no one can speak to it in terms of the public. Council would actually have to set aside that provision in the procedural bylaw if they were going to allow members of the public to actually speak to the motion itself. And that would actually have to be debated on the evening of the 24th. Because tonight, you're just introducing the motion itself. So that's what the procedural bylaw sets out. Council can modify your procedural bylaw or set aspects of it aside, but that's actually its own debate. And a motion put forward and a vote if you were to set aside one or more provisions of the procedure.
You can't ask questions. Can he ask a question?
You can ask a question
About
about
this procedural,
what the procedural bylaw says,
No.
not the motion.
My only question was, we can receive, their
Yeah,
emails or whatever
yeah,
for
that's what he
information.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so just to clarify,
Okay.
yes. Any correspondence filed with the clerk, so there were 2 pieces of correspondence that we received this afternoon.
Mhm.
We're actually gonna bring them back again on the 24th, because they're relevant to the discussion on the 24th.
Okay.
And any other correspondence we receive in the clerk's office will be received and will be pre-circulated to members of council in advance of the meeting.
Okay.
What the procedural bylaw doesn't allow is actually people to appear at the council meeting and speak to the matter. Unless council, the public, it's open, so the public can sit here and monitor. They just can't come to the podium and speak to it unless council sets aside that provision of the procedural bylaw. But it's an open session discussion. And people can monitor the discussions, they can send us emails or correspondence, and the clerk will pre-circulate that in advance to members of council.
Councilor Tilly.
Oh, just because you mentioned it now, how would that look then at that point at the meeting, if we were all of a sudden wanting to change, or we could say, okay, we're gonna take a vote. And say whether or not we're gonna accept people to speak, that's how that would work
That's right.
in the moment, okay.
All right, we're good to go on now with bylaws, and we are not doing, who's got the bylaw?
I do.
That is touched, we're not doing 17.1, is it on
It's
there?
not on mine.
Perfect, okay, go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Roman, that the following bylaw be read a first and second time. 17.2 bylaw number 3549-25, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council on March 10th, 2025.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. And we have Councilor Austin, please, for any final reading of the bylaw.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Tilly, that bylaw number 3549-25 being read a third and final time and be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Councilor Bowman, the adjournment, please.
Moved by myself, and by Council Williams, that whereas business before this council meeting has been completed at 8:44 PM. Be resolved at this meeting.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you.